Hey guys, welcome back to TohirT channel. Tahir is here. I hope you had a fantastic week. We are about to embark on a journey through what's going on in this head, and I promise it will be entertaining because we are talking about the entertainment industry and where I think it will go in the next few years, at least in the next decade. I feel like the way we consume entertainment will completely change. And yes, I'm heavily inspired by an upcoming 5th season of Black Mirror that's coming out on June 5th. So without further ado, let's do this.
You ready?
To set the stage, I will primarily focus on video and the video games. And as we go through the entire discussion, I will try to dip my toes into other types of media, but I feel like video games and movies and films and TV shows incorporate all different forms of arts and media content from out there. First and foremost, let's talk about how do we actually consume the entertainment today? Well, we sit and watch it, right? Starting from the big screens in the theaters, to the TVs, to the tablets, to the cell phones. All those technologies help us immerse ourselves in the world that the producers and directors thought of, the screenwriters wrote about, and the visual designers, directors of photography, and audio engineers create to surround us with. And it works. Since the dawn of the video camera and the movie industry, we've taken the journey with those producers, directors, and creators through all different parts of this world, whether it's future, past, present, some other mythical universe completely. And I do not think that this format is going anywhere anytime soon, yet we already see few glimpses of what to come, what kind of technologies would change the way we consume that entertainment. And at the end of this episode, I will make sure to share a few movies, TV shows, or particular episodes in a TV show to help you visualize some of the concepts that I'm about to share.
You ready?
Interactive content is the first kind of foray into what the entertainment industry will become. We are seeing the merger between the video games and the movies and TV shows. There's nothing new about it, it's still a little bit muddy, but we are seeing how the technologies that come from both of those media formats slowly transpose and almost like move in the same direction alongside of each other, so you know at some point they will completely merge into a single channel. And just thinking about video games alone, how far they've come. When you think about big projects, whether it's Detroit Become Human, whether it's Uncharted, whether it's Red Dead Redemption series, all of them start building these complex narratives that you can almost watch like a movie, yet you have a chance to interact with the world and guide in which direction the story will unfold. Yet I think there's still a bit of a hill to climb with all the generations of gamers who've used to seeing those 16 and 8-bit video games, and they are not aware how far we've come from the original Duck Hunt.
My name is Connor. There's no way out, Daniel. The only question is whether or not you take another innocent life. I'm holding all the cards. If I die, she dies.
Speaking of the learning curves and the barriers to entry, the challenge that video games have today as a narrative force are the complexity of some of the in-game systems that the player has to learn before they can fully take advantage of the story narrative, as well as the controllers. The controllers look pretty menacing and complex for someone who is more used to interacting with a single controller, where they can, with the press of a single button, engage and immerse themselves into the world that the studio created for them. In come the interactive movies. I think those are fun. They offer a very interesting way of interacting with a movie, yet I do not currently believe anyone cracked the code on how to make those movies really stick. The latest example, which I think was pretty successful, is Bandersnatch, a standalone episode from the Black Mirror anthology now owned by Netflix. If you have not heard about Bandersnatch, and assuming I'm actually pronouncing it correctly, it was about an hour-and-a-half movie that offered you an opportunity with a 2 to 3 option selection at the bottom of your screen to decide in which way the plot will develop. Was it fun to watch and make those selections every 5 to 10 minutes throughout the movie? Definitely. Would I watch 10 to 15 movies like this in a row? Probably not. It is hard because every single time when you prompt it with a choice, in my opinion, it takes you a little bit out of the experience. Although, when we think about Bandersnatch specifically, I think it worked well for them because they made that selection process, that moment of taking you outside a little bit of the narrative, a part of the actual storytelling. Not every single movie, by far, offers you an opportunity within the context of the story to pull off something like this.
You ready?
I do not see interactive movies to be a gimmick. I see them as a stepping stone that takes us to the next level of interactivity between us, the audience, and the content the creator produces. The next step that I'm thinking about is full immersion into the narrative. In that immersion, I see the creators, instead of putting the picture in front of the audience, they take the audience and place them within the concept of the story. It's going to be very limited at the very beginning because the whole concept of the storytelling will have to change. Instead of the creators writing the story that can be seen on the flat screen, you have to now draw the narrative and create the story around the character who the audience embodies. As a viewer, you'll be placed into the predetermined narrative with some limited option choices, yet that alone creates a completely new level of interaction with the entertainment media. Imagine yourself a Legolas, James Bond, Valkyrie. I know, random choices, but imagine being one of them and being able to see the world through their eyes. I can again piggyback on the video games world. We already see how they recreate the worlds and let you interact within the single narrative and the presses of a few buttons, and I think we will take that. We will use the limited set of controls, and yes, you will have to wear some sort of peripheral like a VR set to really see the world from the eyes of that character, but that alone is enough to start seeing how the entertainment industry and how the content like movies and TV shows shift their focus from just showing you the picture now to helping you become one of the characters and see the world through the eyes of that character. And we're not even talking about the complexity of shooting those kind of scenes. We'll leave it to another video.
You ready?
And even that period of the interactive content will be a stepping stone of its own, because I don't think it's gonna stick around long enough, and we'll have to make a way to the part that I'm really excited about. The full, complete immersion into the living and breathing world. Two best examples that I can think of right now in the world of TV shows and movies are San Junipero, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but it's an episode of the Black Mirror that perfectly illustrates my vision, as well as Matrix, but I wouldn't use the Matrix as the best example because of the slightly negative connotation of how that world created. But at the end of the day, it is the world where you have a sandbox, the sandbox around you, where you insert yourself as a character and you create your own story. Yes, it will require very complex scripting. The world will have to learn how to react to you. It will have to offer a few subplots to keep you entertained in case you're bored and you don't want to create anything. But the offering that it gives you is essentially the life that you can live in a completely different shoes as a different character. At the end of the day, a lot of the stories that we're seeing on the TV screen right now, whether they're big fantasy, sci-fi, or historical pieces, are all based on real storylines that are extracted from our life. Something like Avatar, as much as it's a fantasy, was created based on a storyline of indigenous people facing the colonizers from Europe into Northern America. So you can see how we do not need the world to be created for us to have those stories. We just need the sandbox of that world, and we can insert our own narratives within that. That is why it's called a sandbox. Okay, this is getting too conceptual. Let me bring you and anchor you back with a TV show. Westworld. Westworld, and it is a spoiler alert, very minor spoiler alert, is a story about a theme park where you can become a cowboy or cowgirl, entering a world of animatronics and robots that know how to react to you, but at the same time they live their own story. Westworld is a sandbox, both literally and figuratively. You are part of the narrative and you are not. You can create your own stories, you can interact with the stories that are currently happening around you, or you can just go and do whatever you want, because all the scripts around you, all those robots, they know that they need to react and behave accordingly to help you stay immersed in that world. My only gripe with that kind of concept is the cost. Building the park, building the animatronics, building all the systems, it will raise the cost of participation in that kind of entertainment pretty much through the clouds. We're not even talking about how expensive the Disney World is. It's going to be way expensive than that. The entertainment industry of that kind to be successful, it requires a price point that can be accepted by the general masses. That is why I'm thinking that in the future, in the next decade or so, we're likely to see a software, digital version of that. The world where we are using our brain to control how we behave, to control our body the same way as we do it in the real world. And the system knows how to read those signals and how to translate the happenings, the events of the show, of the movie, of the world that you're in, into the actual items, feelings, pain that we can feel. Okay, maybe I should not be opening with the pain. We should talk about the pleasure and the feeling of touch and the wind and the sun and the water and the sand. All of that fun stuff that will help you truly immerse your mind in the world that was created around you.
You ready?
If you think I'm getting carried away, there are already multiple research studies that aim at translating the signals that come in and out of our brain. Those signals are essentially a code. And once we crack that code, in theory, you will be able to not only understand the signal that brain sends you to lift your arm, and you could mimic that signal in the virtual world to make your virtual character lift the arm, you will also be able to mimic and trick your brain into thinking that you're touching a stone, a flame, that you're feeling cold or hot, or you're consuming food. That's the kind of possibilities that the interactive content offers us once we know how to crack the code of the neural signals between the brain and the rest of the body. This is a big and primary barrier between where we are right now with the type of entertainment that we're consuming and the future that I am painting before you. We have to crack that code, but once we do, we already know the storytelling part of it. We've seen in the video games world how between the games like Elder Scrolls and the Witcher series, we have skills across the population to build complex story narratives that offer us a sandbox to explore. We need to replace the controller and use our own brain, and we need to figure out a way to translate and transmit the things that are happening today on the screen of the monitor or the TV directly into this brain. Crazy? Maybe a bit. Futuristic? Definitely. Unrealistic? I don't think so. I'm confident that in the next decade we will see glimpses of that technology being used for the entertainment purposes. And yes, it will not be as seamless as some of the episodes of Black Mirror show us, but let's think about it. The first movie was not the Avengers Endgame. The video games were not the God of War or Spider-Man. Yet here we are.
You ready?
Do you agree that this is a direction the entertainment industry will take? Are you concerned in any way with the possibility of living in the virtual world? And what are other ways and technologies that we will leverage to entertain ourselves? Leave your thoughts and ideas in the section below. Okay, I know I'm getting carried away speaking on topics like this, but this purely excites me. I think the possibilities that are before us are even unimaginable to the crazy person like myself who speaks about the virtual world and us being dumped into it. I think we're gonna go even beyond that. Same thing as with internet. If you would ask the person 20 years ago about what internet is today, they would think you're crazy. I'm sure you probably think I'm crazy speaking about topics like this, but I think we'll even go further than that. And the beauty of this, the more we create the interactivity with our brain and the rest of the world, the easier it will be for us to create opportunities for other people, like people with physical disabilities, to be part of the society in no matter what shape their body is. It is exciting, it is realistic, it's a little bit futuristic, but we will all get there one way or the other. I just adore technologies and I adore entertainment. And this is where I will stop for this week. Thank you very much for stopping by. If you're new to this channel, go ahead, hit the subscribe button and check out the videos in the backlog. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you very much for stopping by. As always, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about this video, and I will see you all next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, on this very channel. As promised, I will close with a recommendation for a couple of TV shows and movies for you to watch to visualize the concept that I speak of. First and foremost, for the movies, check out Ready Player One. It shows you how the implementation of the virtual world might look like. Maybe a little bit of a negative world building outside of it, but it paints an interesting way of what the virtual world would look like. Westworld, the first season, I think it's great in visualizing the concept of the sandbox around you and how the world would interact with your actions. And you must watch, if you haven't already, Black Mirror on Netflix. Every single episode also covers something that I skipped in this video, the ethical challenge and the pros and cons of different things that might happen if we abuse those technologies. That's the power of that show, but if you do not have time, just check out single episode, San Junipero. It is a positive spin of the technology that offers us an opportunity to build the world that I discussed and the entertainment industry that I discussed. That's it. leave you with those recommendations. Let me know if you found something else. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.